Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Breakfast Special.
I'm Audrey Seek, and welcome to the Breakfast Special. Now, try to imagine a world where bias, stereotypes, and discrimination don't exist, a truly gender-equal world. International Women's Day, which typically falls on 8th of March every year, has been around for over 100 years, but issues impacting women's advancement have not gone away. And in fact, research shows that women are particularly vulnerable in conflict-affected countries due to their societal status, often leaving them with limited power and agency. And this turns them into targets for sexual violence, exploitation, and discrimination, especially as traditional gender roles get exacerbated during war and conflict. This further limits their access to basic needs and resources like food, healthcare, and protection. So what's being done to help these women, and how have they stayed resilient? For more insights, we're joined by Rebekah Lim, Associate Director for Global Engagement at the Singapore Red Cross, which has been hard at work with empowering women and girls living in conflict zones through their humanitarian projects on the ground. Rebekah, welcome to the studio and to the show. It's great to have you this morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. And let me start by wishing you a happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
Yeah, so can you tell us more about the core values that drive the Singapore Red Cross in supporting women, particularly in crisis zones?
I think in the Singapore Red Cross, we are very much driven by the fundamental principles of the Red Cross. Yeah, so things like impartiality, neutrality, humanity, those are very primary principles that we always go back to whenever we do work, do our international work overseas. Yeah, and I think these principles place the Red Cross in a very unique position, whereby we are able to gain access to many conflict areas, crisis areas where a lot of the vulnerable populations, including women, are. Yeah, and I think a lot of times when we think about our response, our humanitarian response, I think what comes first is really the dignity of the vulnerable population that we are serving. So whatever kind of assistance that we render, we always want to ensure that dignity of that person is being maintained.
Yeah, that's so important. And let's hone in on one of the many places that you guys are active in. One of the regions where SRC has been present is Afghanistan, where women face immense challenges due to the ongoing conflict, as we know. So could you share how the Red Cross is supporting vulnerable women there?
So the Singapore Red Cross, we have been working very closely with the Afghan Red Crescent on a project called the Milestone. Yeah, so Milestone basically means home for the destitute in the Pashtun language. It was established in 1931 as a social welfare center to serve the destitute in the communities. Yeah, but right now, today in Afghanistan, it mainly serves the widow-headed families. Yeah, so families headed by women. Yeah, so personally, I visited one of the Milestone in Kabul in Afghanistan. Yeah, so within the Milestone, they have a school for the children. Yeah, they have living quarters for the women-headed families. They have even mental health facilities. They have training facilities to train the women on giving vocational training skills like carpet weaving, sewing, to eventually help the women be able to gain not just the economic independence, but also the financial literacy to run small businesses, and eventually, hopefully, they'll graduate from the program and then be able to sustain their household in a more independent way.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have been supporting this project since last year.
Wow, what a project. And I'm sure visiting Kabul yourself and witnessing all of this must have made a great and lasting impression on you. We always hear about women, as victims in crises or being vulnerable, but there are also countless stories of resilience. So could you share any inspiring stories of Afghan women who have stepped up as leaders or maybe change makers in their communities?
Sure. So I had the privilege of meeting quite a few of these women. In fact, in the Maristone, it's a program meant for women, and it's also supported by women. Yeah, so it's a women-to-women kind of support. Yeah, and many of the volunteers, the teachers, the healthcare workers, they are all primarily women. Yeah, so I managed to interact with some of them. One of them, she's like managing the Maristone portfolio. Her mom used to be sort of like a beneficiary of the Maristone a long time ago, her mom's family. So the mom grew up in the Maristone.
Wow.
and received the necessary support, and eventually her family graduate from the program, gaining the economic independence. Yeah, so for her, it's a motivation for her, and it's a personal calling for her to want to give back to the place that, helped her family get back on their feet. Yeah, so, and even though, I became friends with her and all, yeah, so I found that, recently she lost her dad.
Oh, no.
and her mom is not in a good medical condition. Yeah, so, but then she continues to have that motivation to serve in this program, making sure that operations within the Maristone run smoothly every day.
Yeah, so what an inspiring story, and it does shed light on all of the work that you guys are doing. Another area of concern today is, of course, Ukraine, which has been dealing with a war for over 2 years now. And we know many women there, especially new moms, are in particularly vulnerable situations. So how is the Singapore Red Cross supporting these women as they navigate life in the midst of conflict?
So for this group of women, new mothers, mainly it's in the area of relief support. Yeah, because one of the partners that we work with, the gap that was identified was when they just gave birth and everything. Like a lot of times they do not receive even the basic needs that, like the lactation packs, the hygiene items, even the baby diapers and everything. So we have been rolling out such relief support for new mothers to ensure that they are able to, adjust into this new season of motherhood, and even trying to give them that psychosocial support that they need as new moms. When they give birth, they are adjusting to that new phase of life that they are in, or giving them the relevant support that they need, even mentally.
Yeah, so as someone who's been through that, and as a mom, I cannot imagine how difficult that must be. It's hard enough as it is when you have everything that you need, because it's such an adjustment. So that's great work that you're doing on that front as well. We know that women play, a really vital role in rebuilding their communities after a crisis. How do their unique perspective kind of shape the kind of aid and support that humanitarian organizations like the Red Cross provide?
I think for women in humanitarian work, when a disaster response happens, I think many times the immediate reaction is to provide aid for the general population that has been affected by that particular crisis. But for women, we tend to think about, which particular group needs more help and everything. So when that comes into play, and when women are involved in such an area of work, many times they will notice small things like, hey, this person who has a disability, his or her needs seem to be overlooked. This person who has a rare disease, his or her need is overlooked. Yeah, so women brings in a new perspective in that sense, and helps us to be able to adjust our response in a way that is more customized, and in a way that it covers a bigger group of population. It covers more profiles within the population that really, really need the aid. So they come in a way to include the overlooked in a disaster response.
Okay. Yeah. So a more wide-ranging kind of focus that we have. All right. So looking ahead, we'd love to know the plans of Singapore Red Cross and how you guys plan to continue amplifying the voices of women in conflict zones. What is next in your pipeline that we could look forward to?
Yeah, so for the Singapore Red Cross, I think we have been, for our overseas work, we have been increasingly pivoting into many capacity building efforts. So trainings and workshops to help women, to get them more involved in humanitarian work. I think women leadership is something that not just the Singapore Red Cross, but even our Red Crescent counterparts in the Southeast Asia region has been increasingly focusing on, creating an environment that is healthy to allow women to become leaders in the humanitarian field. Yeah, and I think some other areas is also creating safe spaces whereby vulnerable women in the different countries that we are reaching out to, creating those safe spaces where they can have a support network to lean on to manage the emotional struggles that they are facing. Yeah, and we will continue to work with partners who have projects that are also supporting vulnerable women and even their families. Yeah, so we will continue to do that in our overseas disaster response work.
Fantastic. These were some powerful insights into the work of the Singapore Red Cross and the extraordinary resilience of women in conflict zones. And as we mark International Women's Day, this was a timely reminder as well of the importance of supporting women, not just as beneficiaries of aid, but as key drivers of recovery and change. Rebekah, we really appreciate your time and the work that you're doing. Thanks so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Rebekah Lim, Associate Director for Global Engagement at the Singapore Red Cross. Stay ahead with Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.